Good morning, everyone. My name is Anna-Marie Descartes. I'll be your host for today, and welcome to Youth Voice on Demand. We have a week packed of interactive events with our online schedule. And it's our second year running this week. And we're just going to help you out with whatever discipline, whatever job is, whether you're a producer, whether you're a performer, a manager. We're going to dive in this week and get stuck in all the ways that you could be helping the youth of the next generation. So this year's theme is leveling up. Every way that you can practice and help out youth voice. What does it look like? We're going to be talking about funding opportunities from participation and being a practitioner. So make sure that you stay up to date with us this Youth Voice Week, because we have got plenty ahead for the whole week. As I said, my name is Anna-Marie. I will be your host for today, and we've got a full house today. We have got 5 guests from different walks of life who will be sharing their journeys on how they level up and how they practice championing youth voices. So joining me on screen will be Naomi McKenna-Loward, who is a learning and participation producer from National Youth Arts Wales. We've got Erin Fitzgerald, who is a trainee producer from National Youth Arts Wales. We've also got Chia Phoenix, who's a new creative co-director from Rich Mix, Demi, who is also part of the New Creatives at Rich Mix. We've also got another Naomi Kerrigan Asres, who's a project manager at Arts Council England. Welcome everyone to the stage. How's everyone doing?
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Great.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. And also massive thanks to Linda, who you can see on the side of the screen, who will be interpreting our conversation today in sign language, which is super excited. I believe this is the first time that we've had this. So this is a great addition to Youth Voice Week. So today's theme is leveling up. And our overarching question we will be talking about is how you guys have implemented youth voice and participation into your organization. So we want Youth Voice Week to serve as an opportunity for organizations and individuals to see how it can be different for everyone and to see how important it is. So yeah, there is no blueprint. We know everyone's journey has been different, and that's what makes you unique, and that's why you're here today. So yeah, we're going to dive right into it. But first, I'd like you all to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about what you do. So I'll start with Naomi from Youth Arts Wales.
Good morning, everyone. As Anna-Marie said, my name is Naomi. I work for National Youth Arts Wales. I'll give you a bit of an introduction about National Youth Arts Wales first. So the organisation was formed in 2017 to bring together Wales's 6 different national youth ensembles. So we offer annual memberships and residencies to Wales's actors, dancers and musicians of the future. And then we also run several development projects to provide routes for a wide range of young people to build confidence, creativity, ambition, and develop a lifelong engagement with the arts. So my role is the participation and learning producer, and part of that is about carrying out the work that we are committed to doing, which is ensuring that young people are at the core of our organisation. So we do things like offer trainee producer roles. We're working with Sound Connections to develop our youth voice strategy, and then we're also working at developing engagement projects to make the routes into national ensembles more inclusive and accessible, particularly to young people from who are currently underrepresented within the arts. So that's a bit of a snapshot into my role and the organisation.
Great, thank you, Naomi. Let's go to Chia.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Chia Phoenix, and I'm a creative activist and spiritual mentor. I've been working with young people for the last 20 years, working in what we know as creative rehabilitation. So using the arts as a tool to build confidence and help young people understand themselves better. I'm currently working at the Rich Mix, which is a cultural arts centre in Shoreditch. And I'm working on a project. I am co-director of a project called New Creatives, which is one of the first projects to be in-house, shall I say, at Rich Mix. And it was created to just support young people as they've come out of lockdown, to build up their confidence and start rethinking about where they're going and how they want to build their careers as they move forward. The project is for 16 to 21-year-olds. And I'm very passionate about young people and how they feel about themselves and their voices. And I feel that creativity is a great tool for healing, for confidence, for self-esteem. Yeah, and that's me in a nutshell.
Great, thank you, Chia. Let's move on to Aaron.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Aaron. I'm the trainee producer at National Youth Arts Wales. The trainee producer role is a role designed to give young people in Wales an opportunity to enter the arts sector and gain hands-on experience working within it. I feel very lucky to be within the role because it's an opportunity for me to work with a network of freelancers, the producers at National Youth Arts Wales, and also work closely with our young talented members. So fits in with the theme of leveling up because it's my first job within the arts sector after leaving education, and I feel very lucky to be here.
Great, we're happy to have you here, Aaron. Let's go to Naomi.
Hi everyone, I'm Naomi. I work at Arts Council England within the Children, Young People and Learning team. I'm the project manager for our first youth advisory board, which is a pilot programme running this year in the North area. During our consultation on Let's Create in the summer of 2019, we consulted with over 200 young creatives and young people on our new strategy, Let's Create. So from that learning, that really helped us kind of seeing how could we embed youth voice within our organisation more widely. I've worked in the arts sector for over 8 years now, working across community projects for young people and children and families as well. So that's a little bit about me. Lovely to meet you all.
Thanks, Naomi. And lastly, Demi.
Hello, everybody. My name is Demi. I'm a professional DJ on Deja Vu FM. I've been involved with youth projects for years now, and at the moment I'm at the Rich Mix on a course called New Creatives, and it's amazing with our confidence and just us growing as young people. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
That's great to hear, and hopefully we hear more about your story later on in the show. So quick shout out to people watching on YouTube. We've got Rachel Parsons, hello, from More Music, she says. Izzy Taylor, hello. It's glad to have you guys here. If you are watching, then you can drop a comment in the live chat at any point. If you have any questions, I'll be sure to ask. I'll be sure to read your question and ask our guests. So yeah, just a bit of a backstory. In 2020, Sound Connections and Lawrence Becker Associates created Youth Voice Week to highlight the vital importance of listening to young people and involving them in shaping the future of the creative and cultural sector. So Youth Voice Week makes our work more representative, relatable, and relevant. Sound Connections has been supporting the creative sector in youth voice and inclusion for over 10 years, and we are proud to present this program designed with young leaders from Wired for Music. So we will be here from today until the 8th of October for Youth Voice Week 2021. As I mentioned at the start of the show, there is plenty on the schedule this week. So you'll be with me on the morning show, Mondays, Wednesday and Friday. There'll be some surgeries. There's a surgery after this. There is another webinar at 3 p.m. So I believe you can download our schedule or find it on the website or our social media pages and keep tabs on what we have coming up this week. As always, if you're watching live, then make sure to drop us a tweet or an image on Instagram and use the hashtag Youth Voice Week to join the conversation. Okay, so we're going to get right in. And our overarching question for today's webinar was, how have you implemented youth voice and participation within your organization? So I'll start with Naomi from National Youth Arts.
Yeah, such a good question. So as I said, we are working closely with Sound Connections, who are consulting with us on really developing like a robust strategy on implementing youth voice within the organisation. I think it's one of those things where, you know, when you're an organisation that works with young people, you know, they're always at the core, but it's about how we can make sure that they're really embedded within the organisation at every level. So, for example, like our board has had training from Sound Connections, which is really brilliant to kind of get that buy-in from a higher level. You know, my role, as I said, is about kind of, like I said, holding that work across the different departments. And I'll let Aaron in a minute talk a little bit more about his role as the trainee producer, because I think that as a scheme, because we've got several trainee producer roles, has been really important in embedding youth voice kind of within the organisation, as well as the work that we do with our members. And we also, we recently have been working with Arts Council of Wales, having been commissioned to run some consultation sessions on the future of youth arts in Wales. And for us, that was a really brilliant opportunity to bring young people's voices and really centre those in those conversations. You know, it feels like it was impossible to run a conversation about what the future of youth arts is in Wales without actually involving young people within that. So, you know, we worked with young facilitators, and they were part of that planning process, which was really brilliant for us to do. And I think we've taken a lot of learning from that. And yeah, I think I might hand over to Aaron now, if that's okay, just to kind of expand a little bit more on some other stuff that the organisation is doing.
Yeah, more than happy to expand. As Naomi said, the trainee producer role has kind of evolved into a trainee producer scheme, which I think is key, because as a young person, I've never felt isolated on the team or in the organisation. Even beforehand, we make sure there's a sort of overlap between my predecessor leaving the role and the organisation and me joining. So I was always given that sort of mentorship as I was introduced into the organisation, which I think is very important when you're joining a new team, because sometimes it can be quite intimidating, but it wasn't the case in my experience with National Youth Arts Wales. And since then, we've brought on more trainee producers to work on our development programs like Music Futures and Core Skills. And I think an important aspect of that was myself being included on the interview panels for both of those trainee producer roles, because I think that was a step we took to make the process less intimidating, more conversational, more relaxed, and to ensure that we got the right young person on board, and also we gave the people we were speaking to a sense of whether we were the right fit for them, which I think is always important when you're working with young people. And in terms of working with our members, like we do digital focus groups. So we consult our members on stuff like our website development, new member areas, just to ensure that we're not doing like we're not doing stuff because we think it's a good idea. We want everything we do to serve a purpose for our members, such as our digital comms. We want to make sure our social media is speaking to our young people in the right way, and we're tailoring everything we're putting out for them.
That sounds super interesting and really exciting. And I love that you have a focus on what the young people want, which is exactly why we're here today, to set an example for, really pushing young voices. I'll come to you since you're next on my screen, Naomi from Arts Council. Ask you the same question. How have you implemented youth voice and participation within your organisation?
So as I briefly mentioned, during our public kind of consultation, we spoke to hundreds of children and young people on our strategy, Let's Create. And a part of that was also speaking to young creatives, a part of the kind of the sector consultation. So young trustee board members, young creatives, who really had made such an impact on our thought process on our strategy. And more recently, we thought of how do we implement this so that we can kind of formalise our learning on from young people more broadly. So we've just launched a pilot of our Youth Advisory Board scheme, which is based in the North area, which is really exciting. We've got 18 young people who are on board. They live like all across the North region. They're young people who are involved in cultural activities, but also young people who aren't. So we're really listening to we wanted to make sure that we were listening to young people who are representative across England to really hear from a range of different voices. So this is really new. We've just had our first session in, and it's a 12-month program for the group. So this is really embedded in our kind of governance structure. So where we have area.
I believe she is frozen.
Recommendations and speak about our policy and our programs, and make a real impact and feel like they're making a real change. So that's kind of a brief summary on our Youth Advisory Board.
Great. I love that you had the focus on the north of England. I feel like a lot of opportunities are heavily London focused, so it's great that Arts Council is spreading and doing things for the wider community. Chia, I will come to you next. So how have you implemented youth voice and participation?
Well, at the Rich Mix, as previously mentioned, New Creatives has run before, but it's not run before as a project. Rich Mix is like a corporate charity, and so mostly it lets out its spaces for other people to run sessions for young people. So this New Creatives is the first project that it's run in-house as a Rich Mix project. So technically, really, over the last 6 months or so, as I've come to Rich Mix, this is the first time that they've had young people in the building regularly, weekly. So we've been connecting our young people with the staff and lots of creatives that are in the building. So there's about 40 other creative organizations in the building, including Sound Connections. And basically, it's kind of highlighting their voice has been more about the Rich Mix getting used to having the young people around them and hearing their voice, getting used to seeing them and their vibrations when they're actually around. The project that we've been running has been about developing their careers. So the first module that we ran was kind of coming out of the pandemic and building up confidence and being around people again. The second module, we had a series of creative conversations, which we included our staff in there. So whether it was on sound, whether it was on audio, whether it was on visual, whether it was around different career paths, and we've tried to partner up our young people with various opportunities within the organization. So for instance, one of our young people was writing a blog, and they started to write a blog for the marketing team. We've also had, for instance, say like Demi, hooking her up with our tech team, because Demi is a wonderful DJ, which she'll tell you about that later on, and supporting her with opportunities to further herself professionally. We had an end of summer kind of performance, which all the young people had to organize themselves. So we're giving them those networking skills, as well as, I guess, event management skills, but learning how to manage yourselves and manage your lives professionally. Now that we're in module 3, this is all about kind of like work placements, and they're going to be organizing their own 2-day festivals, but we're developing their leadership qualities by getting them from the very beginning. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? What do you speak to? And Alex, who's co-director, we're helping them to develop their professional skills in a way that probably we didn't get when we was 20, helping them to understand, you know, the difference between being a freelancer and being self-employed. So we've supported highlighting their voices in that way, in terms of their own personal development, and then linking them with wherever it is that they want to be able to go based on what they say. And that's linking them with artist tutors, linking them with people that actually do work in the industry, telling them that showing them that there's a variety of types of mentors, whether it's a professional mentor or a personal mentor. So that's kind of how we've highlighted their voice. And then even having Demi here today is highlighting her voice, because I know that she's going to go on and be a really successful DJ, but at the same time, many of our young people lack confidence. So giving them the opportunities to promote themselves and talk in more professional settings to promote themselves is how we've been highlighting their voice. I hope that answers the question, Anna.
No, it does. And I really wish I had something like that when I was 16. You know, it sounds like you're giving them all the tools that they need from the very beginning to, you know, be independent and think for themselves, which is great. So props to you at Rich Mix. I'll come to you off the back of that, Demi. How has it been for you being on the receiving end of this program?
I've found the course like so amazing. Like, I've never been on a course like New Creative.
Could you start that again? I believe you cut out.
They like push so much. So sorry.
It's okay. Could you start again? You cut a little bit.
Sorry.
Start from the beginning.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I've never been on a course like New Creatives before. They are like very, I want to say pushy, because I can't think of any other word right now, but like they will push you and guide you in the most you can. They have like pushed my confidence and like really made me like realize that like what I do and where I on the course. Amazing opportunities are amazing too. And just look at module 3 placements. Yeah. Any more questions for me?
No, I'm so sorry. I missed quite a bit of that. It kept cutting in and out. The connection is really poor. But I did catch a few pieces. It's okay. It's not your fault. We'll come back to you in a little bit. But thank you for sharing your experience so far. So next question I want to ask is, you know, us as adults working in organizations, we have a set way of doing things, and you know, it's kind of hard to break the mold sometimes, especially if some people are set in their ways. But how has youth voice or championing youth voice changed the way you worked within your organization? I'll come back to you, Naomi, from youth arts.
It's been really interesting because actually both me and Aaron only started in National Youth Arts Wales sort of mid-pandemic. So Aaron started back in February and I started in March. So it's been really interesting to observe both how this work that we've started on embedding youth voice, and then obviously the impact of the pandemic has just affected the way that we work. And I think that I think, as I said, having the trainee producers as a core part of the organisation has been really brilliant, because it's been, it's a way for us to take their perspective into account when it comes to things like recruitment, when it comes to things like digital comms, when it comes to the development of projects. So we run a project called Music Futures, which is works with schools, and it's about supporting young musicians who are interested in kind of more contemporary styles of music, because our ensembles are traditionally quite classical. It's choir and brass band and orchestra. So this particular project looks at supporting anyone who's interested in any style of music, and having a specific trainee producer working on that project has meant that they've been able to bring their perspective to how we grow and develop that project into next year. So I think that's been a really brilliant element. And just how on board everybody within the organisation is to sort of making these changes. And we've seen that through just things like, it's been a hard, well, I was going to say a year, but it's been almost 2 years now, hasn't it? since everything kicked off with COVID. But we've really taken the time to create more space for our members to work more organically with them, listening to them. So it's sort of working with them as individuals rather than working with them as an ensemble collective. So for example, we just released the National Youth Theatre of Wales summer production, which had to be a sort of hybrid online production, because we work nationally, so it's harder for us to bring people together and to deliver in-person activities. So that film is now live, and that was developed very much with the members, so that the stories and the characters that are created are inspired by our members. And the writer and the creative team took the time to sit with members over Zoom and develop those characters. So it's really, they are at the heart of that production, which is really excellent. And I'd recommend checking it out if you have any time. It's 50 minutes and just a really brilliant piece of live theatre featuring young people from Wales. And similarly, with our dance residency, with our young dancers, we actually decided not to run our dance ensemble this summer, because we just listened to our dance members who said, you've been providing opportunities for us in terms of Zoom workshops throughout the year, and actually we need some space right now. So it's kind of, us not shoehorning in activity because we think it needs to happen, but just slowing down and being more, I guess, slowing down, but also being really reactive at the same time to what the members are telling us. I think those are some kind of key ways that we've changed and adapted as an organisation.
Great, that's great to hear. I'll come to you, Erin, since that you said that this is like your first job. This is you really leveling up from uni. So what was the process like for you coming in? Did you feel supported as a young person? Did you feel like your voice and your needs were heard?
Oh, definitely. Because it's quite strange, because I did join the team and organisation remotely. So you would assume that's difficult to get that sort of sense of inclusion and support when someone's joining from their bedroom, basically. But one thing I tell anyone I speak to about my role at National Youth Arts Wales was that it's the best welcome I've ever had into an organisation, and I felt supported from day one, because I feel like as an organisation we're quite proactive in terms of thinking of what support not just myself but our members and other training producers might need beforehand. And like Naomi said, it's all about like flexibility as well, just being open to feedback. And on the personal level, like thinking of youth voice, I never really assumed I had one, if that makes sense. But like even in like university and stuff, I just thought like you just complete projects and you just take it one step at a time. But one thing the National Youth Arts Wales does and does well is they ask for input from myself, the other trainee producers, and our members. So it really gets you like it helps you develop your critical thinking skills. So you're not just completing tasks, you're actually thinking about like a couple steps ahead and how you can improve, and also how you can communicate to the rest of the team what you need for the role to improve for you. So it's like really great synergy. But yeah, so I feel very fortunate to have this opportunity to develop.
Great, that's really great to hear that their hard work has benefited you. That's great. I'll come to you, Naomi, England. So how has Youth Voice changed the way you work within Arts Council?
This is such a great question. We've looked into how to embed youth voice. It's taken nearly 4 years for us to get to the stage where we've now got a pilot scheme of a youth advisory board. So the main focus of our youth advisory board is that it's co-created with the young people on what they want to work on. So instead of us giving kind of saying, oh, we want you to work on this element of our strategy, or we think that, you know, young people are interested in one of our investment principles. It's really important that the work that they do is co-created, and they tell us what they want to work on and what they want to make a change on, and that kind of really came through when we did our consultations in the summer of 2019. What they said really made an impact in our priorities for especially around children and young people, and made a real impact in some of our future changes and thinking more broadly as we develop our strategy and our delivery plans. So it's really exciting. It's very new because you know, we're an organisation of adults. We don't really have young people represented in our organisation at such a large kind of number. So for us, it's really important that they feel that they have a say and it is an open space. And if, for instance, there is something that they'd like to work on, and for some reason that we're unable to go down that particular route, especially within the time frame where the program is only running for the pilot is running for a year, so there are certain things that they might suggest to work on, but for us as an organisation it will take us longer to do. We'll feed that back and we'll make it clear what we can do and what we can't do, so they don't feel like they're left hanging, or that their thoughts and their passions are kind of being left on the board. And we don't want, for us, it's really important that it's not a tokenistic experience, that we really embed youth voice. What's great about it is that both our chair and our CEO are really passionate about our youth advisory board, and as well as our kind of national council members who are our board of trustees. So it's great that it's really backed across the whole organisation for this programme to be a success, but also that we really feel that we're learning and developing as an organisation as well.
That's really great to hear. It sounds like you guys have been doing a lot of hard work. Okay, and I'll send the same question to you, Chia. How has Youth Voice changed the way you work within Rich Mix?
I think for myself, because I've been working and being self-employed for such a long time, moving around, working with loads of young people at risk and vulnerable young people and adults, I think it for us was about us really understanding what's happened after this pandemic, and that all young people are vulnerable and all young people are unsure of who they are and where they're going, because it kind of felt like it was the end of the world. And making sure that they recognize that they're the leaders of the future, that they have the power to make a difference in going forward. I think one of the favorite lines I'm always saying to them is, look, I'm going to be 60 in 20 years. I'm going to be reliant on you guys regarding what you guys are doing, but letting them know that they can be and do whatever it is that they want to do. And to be able to be, I guess, for myself personally, I'm a little bit more spirit led. So it's really important for me that young people understand who they are inherently within themselves, their identities, their cultural identities, the creative activism. What do you want to say? How do you want to have an impact on other young people? How do you want to have an impact on the adults that's around you? And then also understanding what's within their control and what's not within their control. And I've always seen that my role is of an extended parent or an extended carer. So it's also for us is making sure that we understand how to support them personally. We can't do everything, but at least getting them to talk and share that work alongside what you're doing professionally or the things that you enjoy doing. So that's how I'd say really how I've shifted in terms of my work, is just making sure that they know that they have a voice and they must use it in whichever environment that they're in, and find a sense of pride and identity within themselves. And then also for myself, in terms of just highlighting aspects in terms of, just anti-racism and cultural identity, because the Rich Mix is built on it being a cultural space of diversity of all different nationalities. It's just making sure that as young people, they feel comfortable in saying what they want to say about what they know about who they are, and not feel censored, because I feel like the arts has been quite censoring at times. And different people are put forward to say different things at times. But if you believe in something and you feel something and you see an injustice, you can use your art to express that, and you have every right to do that. And so with myself personally, I'm like, go on, if you want to say that, what's the best way for us to deliver that? But at the same time, having a little bit of that nurturing aspect to who they are, because, we're all in a delicate time right now, but more so it takes a village, as they say, to raise children. So as far as I'm concerned, with young people, we've got to have that role too. We're a bit like auntie or mummy. So that's it for me.
That's beautiful. I really do feel that it's like you mentioned, it's important for young people to know themselves, to know their identity in order for them to have a voice. So it's great that you're really starting at like the fundamentals of just being like a human, just being an adult. So yeah, great work from you guys. Let's talk a little bit about the highlights, because I'm sure you've all had some success stories. Of course, we've got Demi here, who will speak on her experiences, but what are some of the highlights for you as the adults in the organization, that when working with young people? So I'll start with you, Naomi from Wales.
Yeah, I love that. We can just be Welsh Naomi and English Naomi. Yeah, I mean, it's such a great question. And I think when your job title is something like participation and learning producer, or whenever you're an organisation that works with young people, like, I'll always love talking about this. But I think for me, one of the highlights has been the Arts Council of Wales sessions that I mentioned at the top of the session. Again, speaking from a personal point of view, I've come back to Wales from being away for 10 years, so it was kind of a nice opportunity for me to get back into kind of the youth arts sector, and doing that via working with and meeting a group of amazing 6 young creatives, and sitting down with them and, coming up with the ideas for these sessions, which were about, consulting on the future of what the youth arts should look like in Wales. And that went from, youth arts funding, but also thinking about, how can young people's voices be centred in the decisions that are made by organisations like Arts Council of Wales. So for me, just getting to work with them and just being just totally empowered by their empowerment was just amazing, and sort of getting to see them leading these discussions, asking the challenging questions, was just incredible. And I think it made me really excited to be back in Wales, for one thing, but it made me extremely excited for the future of the youth arts in Wales, because these are the young people who are hopefully going to be leading us in the future. They are the next voices that will hopefully be making those decisions, and to sort of hear how for them things like equal access and inclusion are really at the centre of what it is that they want from the youth arts was just brilliant. Sorry, I feel like I rambled on about that, but it was just it was a brilliant project, and it was definitely one of my highlights in the 6 months I've been here.
That's great. That's really great to hear. No rambling at all. We love to hear details. We love to hear the story. So thank you. Erin, do you want to jump on the back of that? Do you have any highlights you'd like to share?
Yeah, definitely. On a personal level, the peer support that I've received since we've had new trainee producers join our organisation. For example, me and Alina, our trainee producer on Music Futures, we've been working on getting funding for Music Futures. It's up until now, Music Futures has been funded through our core spending, but like me and Alina are now like pushing our professional development to try and achieve funding from elsewhere for Music Futures. So that's a highlight, because it's something that's not in my experience before. It's not it's a new skill that I'm developing in National Youth Arts Wales. And yeah, so it was exciting being pushed out of my comfort zone a little and doing something different to the norm. And as well as that, being 22, I'm not that much older than some of our members, so I'm still like really inspired by them. Like, for example, a collaboration project that National Youth Theatre Wales did with Hijinks, which is a leading theatre company that works with actors that have learning disabilities or are autistic. And just seeing the trust that both organisations had for their members to work together, share new ways of working, and be really ambitious, because it was something that started online with play and drama exercises, and then it turned into something that was a sharing experience, and that was quite literally like devised by the young members involved. And as a result, one of our members gave feedback that in 10 years' time, they want to have their own Welsh theatre company that works with young actors with learning disabilities. So it was quite inspiring to see our young members' dreams and goals be affirmed in their work with our organisation. So that was definitely a highlight for me.
Awesome. I love to hear that. I'll come to you, Demi, and ask, what are some of the highlights been for you working with Rich Mix? Hopefully we can get her this time.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, lovely. Some of the highlights working alongside Rich Mix have been, I would say, module 2 was the most module to me. Our module 1 was fixated on like getting to know each other and getting out of our comfort zone. And module 2 really like changed me as a person, I would say, because as I mentioned in our last question, that like we get pushed to do so much, and I feel like module 2 has really brought me to like really recognize who I am as a person and how I work. And Chia, Alex have like taught us that we need to learn how we work, because as young people we get like, we're not very professional, if you get what I mean. So they're trying to push that forward for us, but then also still telling us to be true to who we are and how we get ourselves across. So yeah, I'd say that one of like a highlight from Rich Mix, but also just like mixing with all different other creative people and like people, and then like building relationships with these new people, because you never know like when you may need them in life. Like if we ever need, like, I don't know, like a poet, I know poet now, like if that type of stuff. So it's very good for like bonding with people and just out there. So I feel like, yeah, that's one of my main 2 highlights, but I could talk about it all day. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Sorry, I'm really
Yay.
nervous.
It's okay. Don't be nervous. You did so well. And it's great to hear that you've had such a positive experience and you're bonding with others, and that Chia and the team are pushing you to the best of your ability. And you know what? In 10 years' time, when you are a successful DJ, all of these skills that you've learned right now are going to come in handy, and you remember and be like, oh, I learned this when I was young. So yeah, props to you. I'll go to you, Naomi, Arts Council. What are some of the highlights that you've experienced?
There's already been so many, even though we're at the start of our journey. So one highlight was for me has been working and kind of doing a bit of research on how do we embed youth voice within our organisation, as we don't deliver directly to children and young people. So it's been a really amazing to learn from organisations that we fund, but also organisations across different sectors as well, how they've embedded youth voice. We're working with 3 brilliant delivery partners, which are based in the north. They're Youth Focus Northeast, Youth Focus Northwest, and Youth Work Unit Yorkshire and Humber, who are delivering our pilot programme for us. Which is fantastic for me to really, for us as an organisation to really learn from their expertise. Another highlight has been when we did our recruitment for our Youth Advisory Board members. We had nearly 140 applications to join our Youth Advisory Board, which just overwhelmed us. The quality of the applications it was so inspiring to read what their passions are, how they want to use their voice to make a change. There was a lot of really similar themes that we heard, which related to our strategy, but also related back to what young people spoke to us about in 2019 as well. So it's been fantastic to have 18 young people join us on our Youth Advisory Board and support them on their journey, how they develop their voice and become, well, they will be the next generation of cultural leaders. I'm positive I'm positive some of them already are in their own right, but that has been already quite a huge highlight. And our other highlight has been for us was delivering our first session where we met in person, which was a bit of touch and go when we were kind of planning with the restrictions in place, but it was brilliant to meet the group and then to meet each other and learn a bit more what Arts Council do and how we're really excited to work with them this year. So those have been kind of the highlights of this program for us.
That sounds amazing. Plenty of highlights there. That's great. Yeah. And I'll come to you, Chia, and then we'll come to a close.
Okay, so just quickly, well, that was a highlight. Listening to Demi just share how she has felt and me being able to watch her development, because Demi was on one of our taster sessions. So it started off as a taster session and then it moved on to module 1, module 2, module 3. So it's been a highlight just to watch some of them go from the beginning all the way, traveling all the way to the end with us, which is awesome. It's been beautiful to watch what I call the lights turning on, where you had some young people come in, they didn't have a lot of confidence. We had some young people grieving, you know, had real personal issues happening, and just watching that light slowly turn on behind their eyes, where they feel like, do you know what, it feels kind of good here, you know, making new friends, realizing that when we told them that they're actually good at something, that we was actually telling them the truth. And that came from when they performed and the staff watched them. And, you know, some of them came up to me and was like, oh, you know, you were right. People liked what we had to share. And I said, yeah, I'm not here to lie to you, you know? So it's just been nice watching them develop their self-esteem and their footing again outside in the world, connect more, maturing. There's many highlights, and I know that there's going to be many more by the end of the year, but yeah, really.
Great. Thank you all for sharing your highlights. They are some amazing ones, and they sound really rewarding. Unfortunately, we are coming to the end of the morning show. It has been a very, very insightful conversation, and happy to see many of you in the comments that have been tuning in. Normally, I would have opened it up to a Q&A, but like I said, we are pushed for time. So I just want to end it here. If you could all give something just to let us know your next steps, what are your hopes for Youth Voice, and anything that you're doing at the moment that you just like to share very briefly. So I'll start with Naomi from Wales.
No, I love it. It's great. So I think for us, it's about two things. It's about continuing to work with work with Sound Connections, and kind of recognizing that this is a journey that we're on as an organization. And kind of putting in the time that it needs, but also not being afraid to sort of just jump in and do the things that we need to do. So, you know, just including young people on our recruitment panels, talking to our members, holding these consultation sessions. So kind of doing those things together, so that we're not being afraid to actually do the work because we're too busy planning for the work, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's kind of that's one thing. And then just very quickly as well, I think also, not one of the things that we learned from the Arts Council of Wales work was kind of knowing that young people don't always want to like be brought in to like fix a problem, and it's actually about creating a space for them to connect, and sort of a lot of the stuff that Chia was talking about in terms of just building confidence and figuring out who they are as creatives and who they are as artists, and it's about balancing those two things together, I think. So yeah, that's kind of going to be on the agenda for us as an organisation moving forward.
Great. Now, how about you, Naomi, England?
So like, as I've mentioned, we're really just at the start of our journey with our youth advisory board. So it's really just, I'm really excited to work with the board on what priorities they want to set and what they want to do, but as well as kind of develop them individually with their, as Chia mentioned, building their confidence and, you know, reigniting a spark and a passion with how they use their youth, how they use their voice. what would be fantastic is if some of these members then decide to join boards as young trustee, as trustees of cultural organisations once the programme comes to an end, if they'd like to. But for us, it's just really learning from them, and also them kind of them feeling that they're benefiting from taking part on our youth advisory board at Arts Council England, why they've been selected to take part, and why they decided to write an application and join in that process as well. So for us, it's been fantastic. It's just a fantastic learning journey, really.
Great. Okay, and well, we just lost Chia, so well, she just stepped out for a moment, but I think I'll leave it there. I'll thank you to Demi and Erin as well. It's great to hear like a young person's point of view and to hear how you have benefited and how you're working within the system. Thank you. Okay, Chia's back. Maybe I can just throw the last question to you. So I asked, what are your next steps and what are your hopes for the future?
Apologies about that. I knew the postman was going to come. Next steps. So for us, we are in module 3. Our young people are going to be doing work placements over the next 3 months, but we have a takeover festival. So if anybody is going to be in London on the 3rd and the 4th, our young people will be organising their own 2-day festival, which will have workshops, performances, some art installations. Hopes for the future. It's just that our young people continue to find their feet and navigate themselves in this new world, as well as us adults. Just continue to feel better in who they are, mind, body, spirit. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that, Anna-Marie.
Great. Thank you all for your time today. Thank you all for tuning in on YouTube. Massive thanks to Naomi from National Youth Arts, Naomi from Arts Council England, Demi from Rich Mix, and Chia from Rich Mix, and also Erin from National Youth Arts Wales. This has been a fantastic talk. What have we got coming up for the rest of today? Okay, so we've got a surgery at 1 p.m. So if you're a young person, you can drop in and elaborate on any topic of your choice. We do have another webinar at 3 p.m. We'll be talking about young people's perspective about working with organizations. Tomorrow morning, we have the podcast launch with T. Peters, which should be really, really good. And then at 3 p.m. tomorrow, there'll be a networking session for young people, beginners, and established people. So I will be back on Wednesday morning for another morning show, and it's been great having you all here today. So thank you very much.